Okay, so we're here with John Park, who is the dietitian from CGH Hospital. So I just want to let John introduce himself a little bit.
Hi, Tanya. Thanks for having me today. So my name is John Park. I'm a registered dietitian here at CGH. I work in the Diabetes and Nutrition Center at the downtown clinic here in Sterling, where, yeah, I work as a dietitian. So I meet with patients individually and discuss any of their nutrition related concerns. So I see a wide variety of different patients, from kids all the way up to older adults and everything in between. Um, I've been here for going on 7 years now. So,
Great.
yep.
So what is, just to kind of clarify, what's the difference between a dietitian and a nutritionist?
So technically, anybody can call themselves a nutritionist, but the only ones who can call themselves a registered dietitian are people who have gone through the training and the schooling. So I went to 4 year um, 4 year school for nutrition dietetics degree, and then we have to do what's called a dietetic internship, which is like a supervised professional practice. I did my internship and undergraduate at Illinois State University in Normal, and we have to have it a minimum of 1,000 hours of supervised practice within that um, dietetic internship before we can take a registered exam to actually get our registration to become a dietitian. Um, Also in the state of Illinois, registered dietitian is the only licensed nutrition professional. Um, so we have to be licensed with the state and reapply for that every 2 years
Oh,
to
beautiful.
be
So you have
current.
like title protection.
Yep, exactly.
Cool.
Exactly.
Cool. Beautiful. Well, you're here today to talk a little bit about cancer and nutrition. So let's go ahead and pop off to the first question, which is, why is nutrition so important during a cancer diagnosis?
That is a great question. So since cancer treatment can lead to a lot of different side effects of fluctuations in appetite. Um, for it can be hard to get enough to eat. You may have some weight loss during treatments. So it's important to pay close attention to your diet. And so, in addition to maintaining a healthy weight, we want to make sure that we're eating a balanced diet, getting a variety of different nutrients. Um, there's different foods also that can help in managing some of those side effects, like nausea, vomiting, taste changes can be common, constipation or diarrhea. Those all affect the way that we feel during that cancer treatment. Um, so making sure that you're eating well can help give you enough energy, can help you to maintain your muscle mass that we want, uh, and can also help with our immune function and help to reduce inflammation in the body during the treatment.
So, when I speak to a lot of cancer patients, they typically say like they don't really have an appetite and they have a hard time keeping foods down. So, making sure that they're getting the adequate nutrition and kind of making sure they're hitting all the great food groups, but they're like not really hungry, or when they are hungry, they just don't have like a taste for anything. So, is there anything to stimulate the appetite, or what can they do if like they can't keep certain foods down and they can only eat like one thing like bread and that's all they can do for right now?
Yeah, that's a good question. Also, there aren't there aren't necessarily any specific foods that help improve appetite, but there's a lot of different tips and tricks that you can use to kind of help to make sure that you're eating better. There are a lot of different foods that are helpful if you're having some nausea or if that's one of the main reasons why you're not able to eat. So some of those different foods could be like ginger
Mhm.
or a ginger tea, or they even make ginger candies. Peppermint is also beneficial. Like you can make a cup of peppermint tea to drink, and that can help with some of that nausea. There's also a lot of different medications that are commonly prescribed
Okay.
to help ease that nausea. Um, One that's really common is called Zofran or ondansetron, I believe. And so that can, if you take that 20 or 30 minutes before a meal,
Mhm.
sometimes that can help ease your stomach enough to be able to eat a little something.
Okay.
Um, Also, I would say just focusing on having smaller meals and snacks throughout the day can be very helpful. Just so if it feels overwhelming to eat a big meal,
Mhm.
just know that you can eat a piece of toast or crackers is all you can get down. That's better than nothing.
Sure.
And there are a lot of different supplemental drinks out there, such as Boost or Ensure, or you can make your own high calorie protein drink at home if you've got a blender and put a lot of different like fruits and some milk or some yogurt in there for some extra protein, or they have a
Sure.
lot of protein powders that you can add to those things too. So those would be maybe some good tips to start with.
Okay. All right. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So, another question that I frequently get, and I think that this is kind of like a widely known thing, is there's always the stigma with sugar and cancer, and carbs, and how, sugar feeds the cancer and it, makes it worse. So, a lot of people kind of go from eating it to absolutely no sugar in their diet. So, can you like touch on this a little bit and tell us, is this something that we should be concerned about?
Yeah, I've also come across that question a lot. I get that one a lot. Um, it's it's somewhat of a myth, unfortunately, because cancer, while it does thrive on sugar, it can take calories from everywhere to kind of survive and to keep growing. But um, so carbohydrates, those are where sugars come from. Carbohydrates are actually our body's major nutrient for energy. We need to make sure we're giving our body enough energy throughout the day. Now, choosing healthier sources of carbohydrates like whole grains, starches, fruit, vegetables, those things are definitely going to be better choices
Mhm.
than candy, regular soda, um, or pop, soft drinks, cakes, processed foods. The other thing that sugar does do in the body is it can contribute to a lot of inflammation. And there's already a lot of inflammation happening from the cancer itself, along with the cancer treatment,
Mhm.
um, designed to get rid of those unhealthy cancer cells. So we just want to make sure we're doing everything we can to support that. Um, so I guess in short, it's good to limit sugars, but just know that we need some carbohydrates in our diet, and that's important.
Beautiful. Thank
Uh,
you for kind of
yeah,
clearing that up for us. Um,
absolutely.
so during chemo, sometimes patients will disclose that when they go to eat, it's a little difficult because they have a metallic taste in their mouth and it just kind of like turns them off to any food. And it's not very a good, a good time for them to sit down and have a meal. So is there anything that that could be done for that? Is there any tricks of the trade?
Yeah, unfortunately, that metallic taste is an kind of unpleasant side effect of a lot of different cancer chemotherapy treatments. But there are some good ways to kind of hopefully help minimize that. Um, in some cases, adding actually a squirt of lemon juice or something a little citrusy like lime or oranges can help. Also, maybe trying different spices like cumin or cinnamon or coriander. Some of those different spices can actually kind of tickle your taste buds and make the food taste a lot better in certain cases. Also, if you have some plastic utensils, forks, and things, sometimes that silverware that we normally use can leave a little bit of a metallic taste also, or make it a little bit worse. Um, and then one more thing too, I guess, would be making sure that you're practicing good oral hygiene. Like
Mhm.
if they have different mouth washes that you can use. Just keeping your mouth well hydrated, or sometimes doing salt water rinse can be good, or
Oh,
having
like before they eat?
yeah, exactly,
Oh, okay.
or even throughout the day. And staying well hydrated, drinking some water throughout the day, or drinking some tea, or even some hard sugar-free candy or gum to chew on can be helpful too.
Hmm. Do you think that it's also important to get electrolytes in, like if people drink Gatorade or Powerade or liquid IVs are real popular now? So,
Yes, definitely important, especially if you're not able to drink as much fluids throughout the day. Having some of those things with electrolytes helps your body to kind of hold on to more of those fluids or water in your body, so you don't get dehydrated from not being able to drink as much.
sure,
That's normal.
sure.
Yeah. Yep. That's a good
Beautiful.
point.
Yeah, thank you. Um, so I guess what does a healthy meal look like? Could you give us an example of something that is easy to find locally here, and that people can make at home? I mean, I'm sure you know that when somebody's going through treatment, they're tired. Sometimes there's weakness. They don't really want to spend a ton of time in the kitchen. So, do you have like some tips for good, well-rounded meals?
Yeah, absolutely. So if we think about our plate, and ideally around a 9 or 10 inch dinner plate is like a good portion size to start with. And if you draw a line down the center of that plate, you want half of that plate to ideally be vegetables like broccoli or cauliflower, lettuce, green beans, carrots, those types of things. And then also some fruit, small portion of fruit like an apple or orange or banana. You could also do like unsweetened applesauce or canned fruits. Frozen fruits are good. If you get the canned fruits, ideally in their own packed in fruit juice or water, would be better to limit those sugars again. And for vegetables, frozen vegetables are really good. I like the kind that you can just put the whole bag in the microwave and cook it for 4 or 5 minutes. It steams in the bag. Those are really convenient.
Mhm.
Um, so that would be one good way to get some vegetables in. Plus, the frozen ones are a lot of times maybe have more nutrients in them compared to the fresh, because when you're at the store, you don't know how long those fresh vegetables have been sitting out for. So
Sure.
would be good. So that's half of our plate is ideally those fruits and vegetables. If we go to the other half of our plate, a quarter of our plate, so half of that would be our starch or whole grains,
Hmm.
like rice, whole grain pasta, brown rice would be good example. Oatmeal, um, think different foods like that, our breads, our cereal, crackers. Those are all some good things to include. And then that other quarter of our plates, ideally some type of protein, whether it be like meat is a good source of protein, or chicken, fish.
Hmm.
Lean sources of protein, less fat are good. You could even do some beans or some nuts and seeds have protein, or if you like yogurt, um, those would be some good examples there. Um, Also, there's different like frozen dinners are kind of they're not something you want to have a lot, but one
Hmm.
brand that I really like that I think is a lot healthier than some of the other ones out there are the healthy choice meals
Oh,
that
okay.
you can buy those at Kroger has a good selection, or County Market or Walmart.
Hmm.
They're about $3 to $4 for a meal, but they're microwavable meals that generally have like some vegetables, some lean protein, and maybe some pasta or some small amount of that. So those could be another like quick and easy option that are a little bit healthier, I
Sure.
guess. Um,
Is
I
there, oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead. No, go
Is
ahead.
is there anything against canned vegetables? Because I've gotten that question quite a few times is, are they actually good for you or are they just like packed with sodium? Is a vegetable, right?
I do think that getting vegetables, whether they're canned or fresh or frozen, is better than no vegetables.
Hmm.
But you're right, some of those canned vegetables can have a lot of sodium in there. They
Hmm.
add some salt to them, but you can find no salt added or even reduced sodium canned vegetables, and sometimes those could be even better options too. If you need something softer,
Okay.
easier to digest, if you're having a lot of issues with, yeah, your stomach. Um, so yeah, those are still a good option also. And
Beautiful. Beautiful. There has been some talk about using an alkaline diet to reduce the risk of cancer growth. So, could you touch on what an alkaline diet is, and is there any research that really supports this currently?
yeah, so the alkaline diet it's based on a theory that eating certain foods can change the body's acid or base level. So kind of like the pH level is something that we use a lot in chemistry. Um, so a pH of 7 is considered neutral, and then the lower that number is, the more acidic uh,
Okay.
substances like lemon juice, or um, trying to think of some different like vinegar is acid, things like that, versus foods that are more, or things that are more basic would have a little bit higher pH level.
Hmm.
So fruits and vegetables are naturally more alkaline or basic.
Okay.
Um, so that's where the alkaline diet is kind of aligned with thinking that
Hmm.
a more um, higher pH level or more basic level in the body is possibly beneficial for reducing or helping to fight that cancer growth. Um, Now, the problem with that thinking is our body is really good at controlling our pH level, like in the blood. And our body's normal pH level is about 7.35 to 7.45. So it's a very tightly controlled. Um, our body does that in a lot of different ways.
Hmm.
So there's different organ systems, the kidneys, for one, um, actually, our lungs and our breathing. When we breathe oxygen in and we exhale CO2 or carbon dioxide. And the plants love that. And our body likes that too because it helps get rid of that CO2, which is a little bit more acidic.
Gotcha.
So Um, so in that way, and that's a very simple answer, but in those ways, our body can control our pH level very tightly. If you get out of that 7.35 to 7.45 range, that can actually be really dangerous, and can be, and you can be in the hospital in intensive care. Um, so I guess in a short answer is, doing all those things that we can to help support our body, and like drinking water, plenty of water, keeping our kidneys healthy. Um, Staying physically active is also important for maintaining our um, respiratory health, but also just eating a well balanced diet, including those fruits and vegetables, because remember, those should be half the plate.
Right.
That's really the best thing that we can do,
Okay.
and to help support our body so that we can kind of get through that treatment process and hopefully
Hmm.
in remission.
Yeah. And do the best that we can, you know,
Yep,
and
exactly.
make it
That's
work
the
the best to our abilities.
Yeah, and I do think also, just to add to that, like it's important to focus on those things that we can control too, and just do the best that we can to kind of get through that treatment. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, thank you
Oh,
so much. Do you
yeah.
have any other points you want to hit on? Those were all the questions I had. So
Those are some good questions, honestly. Trying to think of some other things to add. I would say, don't, if you're having issues or if you're having some of those side effects, make sure that you talk to your doctor or your healthcare team about that.
mhm.
Don't let it go too long. Like if you're having a lot of diarrhea or you're vomiting a lot, you don't want to go more than a few days to the point where you're become really weak and then have to go to the emergency room
Right.
or get IV fluids. Let your providers know what's
Mhm.
going on, I guess, and catch it early and try to do those things you can.
Having that open communication and making sure that we're paying
Yeah,
attention. Yep.
absolutely. Pay attention to how you're feeling, and that can go a long way. Also, I think another thing that's really helpful strategy is just keeping track of what you're eating throughout the day,
Mhm.
keeping a food diary or a food journal. You can write it down in a notebook, um, or there are a lot of different smartphone apps that you can use to keep track of, um, specific nutrients or calorie intake throughout the day. That could be really helpful, and then that can help you to see what you're doing day to day. How
Mhm.
much you're getting in, and
Sure.
help you
Would
to make a goal the
would
next
that
day.
also help their oncologist see different things as well?
I think definitely, because they can take a quick look at your food journal, and also if you're writing down kind of your thoughts and feelings throughout the day, or how you're feeling
Mhm.
as far as like your symptoms and things. Yeah, that could really help them as well, and maybe making small changes to the treatment regimen to where it
Sure.
helps you to have less of those side effects. That can be
Sure.
helpful for them.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah. That's a good point. That's a good point.
right, right. Um, yeah, so that would be another tip, I suppose.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully we can do this again.
Yeah.
And we'll get some more questions going and we'll see you next time.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Thanks.